I want to quickly go through a very important phenomenon that Colin and I have had the unique positioning of observing inside of the gutter world. If it wasn't for our unique positioning, working with so many different gutter businesses, we would have never seen this. But it is clear as day now that there is a chasm in the industry. Chasm Roman meaning a really big gap, where there's a gap of knowledge and people get stuck in this gap and they don't know how to go from the low price side to the high price side of the industry. The chasm works like this. On the low price side of the industry, we have our trucks in a truck, we have our unmarked crews, we have our crews with English as a second language. We have our guys that say, oh, I just work off referrals. I just get referrals all the time, a lot of those guys. And the reason why they get referrals all the time is because they're attracting those price shoppers, and the price shoppers do what? They find the trucks in a truck that do a good enough job that are charging the least amount for okay quality work. We're talking about these are the $5 per foot guys for 5-inch, $6 for 6-inch, sometimes less. Sometimes it's $7. You guys know who we're talking about. The big aha moment with the chasm is this. Everybody in this column, they are install companies first, and they never learn the marketing and sales side of the business. Because being the lowest price in the industry, in your town, is not marketing and sales. It's just you're the lowest price, and that is why people are buying from you. And so these are, we call them install only companies. They are the ones accepting all of the subcontracted work, including like the insurance. You guys realize insurance pays out like $11, $12 per foot in most areas. Okay, if you submit them that Superior charged me 16 per foot, sometimes they'll just be like, we'll just go ahead and pay it. Yep. They won't fight you with it. So insurance companies, the cheapest like scam in the world, they're paying out. So insurance, $11 to $12 per foot. Why in the hell would you pay, would you charge $5 or $6 a foot if insurance pays out as much as they pay out, 11 to 12?
If insurance is, if their first estimate to you is to pay you $11 to $12 a foot, why on earth would you ever charge any less than that? Some of the biggest crooks in the world are offering to give you $11 to $12 a foot to do a service that they don't want to pay for. Like, let's make that clear. They don't want to pay. Yeah, they're going to pay bottom dollar, the cheapest that they can. Their cheapest is $11 to $12 a foot. Why on earth is anybody selling gutter for less than that? Why? Let that be a huge aha for you if you're selling for less than that. You can use this. This is one of my favorite. When we had our Colorado location, it's storms constantly over there, right? They get free roofs and gutters like every 2 or 3 years. Who else lives in a heavy like hail or whatever area? You do. Nobody else really does. But praise the Lord. So Colorado, we'd run into it all the time. And they'd be like, oh, Joe Blow would do it for $7 a foot. Mrs. Smith, do you love your insurance company? No. I mean, they're paying for this, but I don't love them. Well, like genuinely, do you feel like they have your best interest in? No, I had to fight them tooth and nail in order to get them to cover this thing. Okay, so it's safe to say that they didn't want to cover this, and that they're probably trying to pay you as little as possible to get this done. Yeah, because we know that that's insurance's job, right? That's how they make their money, by paying as little as they can on this. Yeah. Okay, well, Mrs. Smith, if the lowest or the most that they are interested in paying is $11 to $12 a foot, if that's their opening offer, shouldn't it be concerning if somebody is doing it for $5 or $6 a foot? If insurance recognizes that this is how much money it takes to get the bare minimum of a gutter person to show up to your house, what the heck are they doing that they can do it for $5 or $6 a foot? When we started doing that, gangbusters. Like my guy, he didn't do this all the time, but when he would do it, when he wouldn't sell jobs, he'd be like, did you do it? No. Why didn't you do it? I don't know. Do you hate money? Because you're really acting like you hate money right now. And he's like, no, it didn't feel right. Like they already had the cheap guy. This is why you bring this point up, right? But when he did this, every time they were like, you know what, you're right. So Mrs. Smith, because your insurance company sucks, I want to charge them $16 a foot, and here's how we do this. Boom, 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 boom. And they're like, yeah, let's do it. Let's get them for $16 a foot. All right, cool, let's go. And they got excited to screw their insurance company back. All right, so that's that. This is one of our biggest aha moments. Like one of the biggest aha moments you guys should walk away with is if you're charging anything less than this, like step your game up. All right, plain and simple. All right.
To understand the full chasm, you need to understand the economics of why the install company only companies operate the way that they do. So sometimes English is their second language and they're not comfortable selling. Sometimes they're just as Chuck as you can come and they're just trying to like be the gutter person. And sometimes they just don't want to ever learn how to sell effectively, and they eventually learn that if they're the lowest price, then they can sell like crazy. The economics of these types of businesses look like this usually. If they're doing a 200-foot install, they're going to charge $1,200 for that job. Their materials is going to be about half of their cost, $600. They're going to have $100 in miscellaneous costs, maintenance of the truck, whatever it is, gasoline. They're going to have $500 left over per job that they do. They're going to bust out maybe 3-4 jobs a day. Every single job so with that $500 left over per job, the owner, if his name is Jared, is going to take about $350 per job for being the owner, but he's working side by side with his helper, and he's paying his helper $150. So if they do 3 installs today, then Jared makes about $1,000 and feels like he is king of the world as Chuck in the truck, and the helper is making about $450 and also feeling like a baller. These guys are ballers. And this is the economics of a business where you are the business, where you don't have a team, you are doing all the work. You're answering the phone, you're doing the sell, you're going and you're installing side by side with your helper. You can feel like a baller making $1,000 a day, and you can work really hard at it in this type of business. But Colin's big aha moment was when he almost fell to his death one day and realized that this business, game over, just like Mario, there's no business and nothing left for your wife and kids and employees. Like, the business is done when the owner dies. Okay? This is the economics of this.
Screws your customers too. You know, if I fell off that roof, however many years ago that was, 6 years ago, all those customers I'd hung gutter for have no warranty anymore, right? That's gone. So screws them over. That's how you sell against those guys, right?
All right, on the other end of the chasm, we'll talk about the being caught in the chasm in the middle, and the big gaping hole after we talk about the other side of the chasm. So, leaf filter, the most I've ever heard leaf filter charge when they've actually gotten in trouble for some predatory pricing is as much as $100 per foot. So the pitch for that 200 feet, hey, Mrs. Smith, it's going to be beautiful. Like, okay, the color you want is going to be black. We're going to put the leaf filter cover on it. We're going to install it at 6-inch. We're going to put all the downspouts where you want it. It's going to be beautiful. And Mrs. Smith, it's only $20,000. Sales rep shuts his mouth. And then Mrs. Smith is going to say, oh, okay, $20,000 and sign up sometimes. Very rarely, but sometimes. And then most of the time, Mrs. Smith is going to say, 20,000? No, wait, this is something's wrong here. And then the rep's going to be like, well, we can do it for 14,000. I can cut you a senior citizen discount, and oh, your husband was in the military, you know, and then the big list of excuses why we can do it for 14,000. And Mrs. Smith is going to be like, oh, goody, or what, 14,000? And then that goes all the way down to the par, which for leaf filter reps, as horrible as this sounds, their par is usually around, I've heard as low as 12. I don't think it's super common, but without cover. With cover, I think their par is usually around 20. Which means that rep might bottom out and say, all right, Mrs. Smith, instead of $20,000, we can do it for $4K because I really like you. Okay? That is what leaf filter does sometimes, and that's why they've gotten in trouble in certain states and sued for predatory practices when it comes to their selling. These are top of the market, most expensive type guys. So leaf filter, leaf guard, franchises, usually they're not getting up to $100 a foot. Most of the time they're going to be around that $30 to $50 per foot range with cover. We specifically at Superior, we do $1,650 plus 23 for the footage that includes the cover. So on the footage that includes the cover, we're closer to that $40 per foot, and the footage without the covers is around $1,650. And then sometimes we'll give some concessions and we'll drop it down to maybe around 14. Very rare for us to drop down to anything lower than 12.
I want to dig a little bit deeper on some of this because shy of maybe you're the only one that shared your prices so far. But this probably freaks some of you guys out. Maybe not Donnie, because Donnie is Mr. like, oh, I sold the job for $37 a foot today because he is leaf filter McGee. So he started with leaf filter and he's like, I see them get it, so I'm going to try. But this number is probably pretty scary to some of you guys, right? I mean, anybody that this is like way more than what you're charging? Yeah. Okay. All right. So what differentiates, so with our gutter launch program, historically, all right, let me give you guys a quick like breakdown. So gutter launch, it used to be like we'd take our existing gutter businesses, new gutter businesses, we'd take a lot of them into that. Gutter launch now is for new businesses. Gutter Kings is for our existing gutter businesses, all right? So a little bit different programs, still the same focus of building an automated business, but done different ways, all right? So gutter launch, what we discover here mostly with our brand new business owners is they're like, Colin, I am new to this. I don't know what the heck I'm doing. And I feel like I'm not worth this price yet. I need to earn my stripes in order to be able to charge this much. This is a real call that just happened Wednesday inside of our community. Like, I just feel like this girl, she's been in physical therapy for 25 years. She goes, in physical therapy, I'm worth premium pricing. But in this brand new gutter business that I'm a partner in, I don't feel like I'm worth that price because I don't have the experience that I do in this other business. And I was like, okay, cool, let's talk about that. And so my first order of business with her was, all right, I've got homework for you. In order to build your perception of yourself up, call your office right now. And she's like, what? And I was like, yeah, call your office. Boom, somebody answers. Cool, you have an answering service. Somebody's there answering your phones for you. Now, call 10 of your competitors. She's like, I don't know that I can find 10 of them. Well, yeah, you probably can't find 10 of them because half of them are over here, all right? You only get their number from the bar napkin, right, or whatever else, and that's how you find them. But call as many as you can. And how many of them did you actually get to talk to, right? She, the next day, was like, okay, I talked to 1 out of 6. I'm like, okay, 1 out of 6. How many of them called you back? She goes, none of them yet. Okay, so does this seem super far-fetched now? You are 2 of 7 companies that will actually answer the phone. She goes, okay, like that builds more value for me. I'm like, all right, awesome. Now, this is harder to do. You can't just go and hire those 6 other companies and say, hey, come put gutter on my house, and then call them and say there's a problem 2 months later. Like that, you can't just go and do that and test it that way. But you can look at their Google reviews, and you can look at their Facebook pages, and you can see what people are saying or not saying about them, and compare yourself to them. And she's like, okay, yeah. And by the end of this, she was like, holy crap, you're right, Colin. Like the level of excellence that I'm holding myself and my business to is 100-fold what they are. Like, okay, there we go. So now you're confident. And she goes, I'm way more confident now. Okay, sweet, perfect. Let's go. How you feel about yourself and your own company is a direct reflection of how your sales reps will sell. We have, I don't know if you guys saw Nathan. He's about this big, little jacked dude. He's 19 years old, all right? Just started working with us a month ago. In the state of Michigan, because we have to have licenses to do gutters and roofs, our sales reps also have to have a salesperson's license. That's taken at the state level. So their training process is, we do like 2.5 weeks of ride-alongs and classroom training, but then we have 1 week that is all state testing, and then they go and take this test to get their license. So he passed it last Wednesday. Yeah, last Wednesday or Thursday, something like that. The next day, we didn't put any estimates on his schedule or anything, right? The next day, gets his first estimate, goes to his first gutter job and sold, was it 5,000? I don't remember. Sold like I don't remember if it was like 2,500 or 5,000, something like, there's a 5 in there somewhere. But sold his very first ever estimate at these prices. Because for the last 3 weeks, he had seen us walking around knowing that charging that price is what we're worth. And he felt that in his soul. Like, okay, I'm confident in doing this. Now, back up to when I first launched my business, I hired my first sales rep a year into business, and we were charging $6 a foot. This was winter of 16 and 17. And we were charging $6 a foot, and I think $9 a foot for premium gutter guard, all right? Things were very different. I was like a $1 a foot higher than the average person at that point, right? But that's what we were charging. It's funny to see $6 a foot still today, that's what I was charging 8 years ago, but it's besides the point. When I raised my prices $1 a foot, you would have thought that I just cut off my salesperson's left leg. He was like, there's no way, man, we're already losing jobs, like just completely up in arms. And he actually quit. And when he quit, I raised my prices again, and then I hired another sales rep, and they just took off and ran with it because they didn't know any better, and I walked around with the confidence that this is what our company is worth. And they're like, boom, okay, let's rock and roll, right? Some of you, the very first step that you have to take once you leave here and get back home is hiring a sales rep. And for those of you that this price seems crazy, your flight home, you better be convincing yourself that this is a damn good price and that your customers are lucky to pay you only $40 a foot for your services. And then you hire a sales rep and you walk around with that confidence that this is what we're worth, and watch them be a better salesperson than you and make you more money than you ever made yourself. All right? This has happened time and time again inside of Gutter Lunch. When we get people doing this, it's like, holy crap. We are crippled by our own limiting beliefs that sometimes we don't even recognize that we have.
The big aha moment on this side of the chasm where we want to be operating is this. All these companies have learned to become marketing and sales companies first. And then great install second. This is the good area. We learn how to become great marketing and company sales first and great install companies second. This side, they only learned how to install. They are install companies. To them, they think that the business is installing gutters. There's a reason why I don't know how to install gutter. Working with Colin for everything, he never said, Daniel, you know what? You're just gonna have to go get on the truck as well for a month and learn how to also install the gutter. The reason why is because the easiest part of the business is the installation, okay? Jared, you saw it for the first time today, and you were like, wow, this is a lot easier than what our installs for the lighting. This is easy. And so these companies, they're trying to perfect something it's easy to do, right? And they're never, for lack of, maybe they don't understand the importance of self-development. Maybe they just underestimated the need for marketing and sales. Whatever the reason is, maybe they don't feel comfortable with it because English is their second language, but they never learned to become a marketing and sales company so that they could reposition and actually grow a brand. Now, the whole reason why we call this the chasm is because out of all of our sales calls Colin and I have had, and all of the people that we've invited into Gutter Launch and into Gutter Kings, we have a massive amount of people who are caught in this big gaping hole in the middle, and they are confused. This question mark is for confusion. They, and I'd say it's about 80% of the market, they get caught in this big gaping hole where I'm right here and I see that Leaf Filter is charging sometimes $100 per foot. And then I look and I see that Chucking a Truck is sometimes charging $5 a foot. And I am very confused because I'm stuck in the middle trying to provide for my family and keep my employees busy. And I don't know what's going on. I don't know how Leaf Filter's charging $100 sometimes and how these guys are in business charging $5 sometimes. We've seen it all happen enough where we understand the economics of why they can make this work. We understand the 80% of business owners in the middle that are confused, and then we understand how to cross the chasm because we spend all day, every day trying to teach people how to cross the chasm, where we are great marketing and sales companies first and great install companies with great customer service second.